a.m. on Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos.
The news that matters the most is the news that hits closest to home. If it touches your business, your family, your city, your schools, or your safety, we've got you covered. Everything that affects you is our concern. So, we go beyond, getting all the facts and serving you news and information you can trust.
There was 10 million liters of fuel made available at some point, which was not made available at the time because obviously it had to be brought in.
They attacked this Gayo village, Keru, and the Takalafia villages today. It's one of the many attacks.
Radio Now, 95.3 FM Lagos. Beyond the news.
You're listening to Now Breakfast. Good morning. This is your daily security watch on Now Breakfast.
Good morning. This is Security Watch here on Now Breakfast. There was tension in some rural communities of Kuje Area Council of the FCT as herders fled their settlements after bandits killed 9 abducted victims. It was gathered that bandits who relocated from Zamfara State and set up camp in the Kabi forest abducted 9 residents of the area and later killed them, despite collecting ransom money from their families 2 weeks ago. A traditional ruler who preferred anonymity said the killing of the 9 victims had created fear and tension in the area. He further said that the killing resulted in the Mieti Allah vigilantes and other vigilantes engaging the bandits and killing 27 of them in their hideout. And still on Security Watch this morning, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, in Nasarawa State has said that its men have arrested 27 persons believed to be cult members in Lafia, the state capital. The commandant of the corps in the state, Mr. Bapa Abbas Mohammed, who disclosed this while parading the suspect, also revealed that as a result of cult-related activities in the state, 1 person lost his life, adding that 1 other sustained machete wounds and is now receiving treatment in a hospital, and also reassured that the command would ramp up efforts to check cult activities and other related cases. That's your Security Watch this morning on Now Breakfast on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. More conversations to follow today in the news. Stay close.
This is Now Breakfast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
Every second and every minute, something new happens. The news breaks.
And angry mobs decided to bomb.
Everyone wants to share it, but not everyone wants to dig deep. Now that's where we come in. We bring you the news and go beyond with in-depth conversations and analysis with stakeholders.
I honestly think that the federal government on its own part has broken.
If voters or more people want to be part of that decision-making process, they need to be part of it.
It is not a good measure of development anyways. We are not there. We need to counter the narrative of the fact that our vote does not count. If your vote does not count.
We bring you the story within the story. And that's what makes us tick. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and we go beyond the news.
This is Now Breakfast.
From the north to the south, real people.
So like I said to you, it's some serious elements of the outdone and official of my party whose tenure elapsed, who are pleading with me to endorse an illegal extension, and I refuse to be a part of any illegality.
Real stories every morning.
Most of the IDP, they stay in schools, and once they move in schools, when there is a disaster, the school in that area is automatically shut down.
This is Today in the News on Now Breakfast.
Resident doctors in Enugu State have threatened to down tools in 14 days if the state's government does not employ new doctors in the state-owned health institution. The doctors called for an urgent approval for the recruitment of medical officers, resident doctors and house officers in state-owned hospitals. The situation in the state there is the reality of the country's health sector, as according to the Nigeria Medical Association, there are only 24,000 physicians in the country treating over 200 million people. To discuss this problem of the shortage of health care givers in the country, doctors in particular, we're being joined this morning by Dr. Dele Abdullahi, the president of National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD. Good morning, Dr. Abdullahi. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, sir.
Can you hear me? Very well.
I can hear you clearly, sir.
All right then. Yes, we can hear you as well. Now, how are the Enugu State government, or how is rather the Enugu State government reacting to the request of your chapter?
Well, thank you very, very much. Dr. Dele Abdullahi, the president of Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors. And, well, we are hoping for a positive response. We do not have crisis, and we need to put into perspective that the current agitation from our members is actually to save the healthcare system in Enugu State. We, of recent, were with the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum, and one of the few things we actually pointed out to them is the paucity of healthcare workers within the state. We need to understand that Nigeria is already at a stage of a chronic loss of manpower in the country as regards the healthcare sector. So we are hoping that you cannot increase the capacity or the workload and you expect the same number of healthcare workers to do the job. If you are going to, Nigeria is an expanding population on a daily basis. It's time for the government to start looking into providing the fundamental rights for every Nigerian, which is healthcare.
What sort of dialogues have been had? Because I'm just considering what could possibly happen after, tools have been down. That is, in the event the government doesn't exactly, aren't forthcoming with regards to your request. So were there any, or have there been any, if you like, conversation between your chapter and the government before now?
Well, yeah, thank you very, very much for that question. Like I said, before now, we've had a very good working relationship with the Nigerian Governors Forum. We were recently granted the opportunity for a court visit where we had a long discussion on the problems of the healthcare sector. And on communication from the local chapter, we forwarded this communication to the Nigerian Governors Forum's DG, that's Director General, the DG Nigerian Governors Forum, and the Chairman of Nigerian Governors Forum, hoping that they will have their intervention. So far, so good. We've had them do a lot of good work in intervening in the healthcare sector, especially in reviews in Lagos of recent. But we are hoping that the Enugu State government can actually look into this problem. This issue has been on for a very long time. If you look at the communique for this ultimatum is actually a rider to a different communique that was issued earlier. This issue has been on for like 6 months, and there has been this call to the state government. Yes, there has been the excuse of the government is new, but government will continue. And you wouldn't say because you are new, if you have an invasion of your state, you tell them don't worry, let the Marauders continue while we get a hold of the government. You fight back almost immediately. So if you can do that, you shouldn't see the disease and the ill health as anything different from Marauders invading yourself. If what you need is a workforce to protect them, then you gather the workforce for the people to protect them.
Now let's bring in the federal government. Now this is not to absolve the state government of any of the blames, so to use that word anyway, but in your previous engagement, where did the federal government factor in all of these vis-a-vis your propositions?
Well, thank you very much for this question. We've actually been engaging the federal government for a very long time, over 3 years now, on this chronic manpower shortage. If you were conversant, the National Council of Health held a meeting and they declared a state of emergency. And one of the points that, if you look at the communique, was the brain drain. But we still feel it's more lip service than actual actionable plans that they are putting forward. What do I mean? You have people living. What is it that you are putting in place to ensure people are not living? What is it that you are putting in place to ensure you are increasing the number of production of care workers in this country? What is it you are putting in place to encourage people to return back into the country? These are the things we want to hear, not that you are declaring a state of emergency. To declare a state of emergency is a very good thing, but we need the plan. We need to know what you plan to do. We have given you offers of what it is. You need to understand that healthcare workers are highly supported, not just in Nigeria, but all across the world. So if you have an healthcare worker within your system that is not being employed, it is easy for the healthcare worker to just leave. If you have healthcare workers that are not being paid salaries, why would they want to work for you? Currently in Ife, we have a mammoth of healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, pharmacists that have been employed for over 10 months and have not been paid. We have healthcare workers in Abia State that have been owed salaries. And the government is coming out to say they want the healthcare workers to stay. Our question is, what is your plan? What is it that you're offering the healthcare workers to stay in the country? I don't want to talk about all the other states that are having myriads of owed salaries, that have very little welfare packages for the healthcare workers, and are encouraging them to be patriotic and stay within the system that is giving them nothing in exchange.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Abdullahi, for joining us. Dr. Dili Abdullahi is the president of the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, in Enugu State, the chapter there, talking to us about the situation with regards to their threat to down tools in 2 weeks if the state government doesn't employ new doctors in the state-owned health institutions. More conversations coming up.
This is Now Breakfast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
News and information go around every second. The ones who deliver it and how matter. We give you depth, substance from the real sources.
I made statements in that regard, and the first point I called was the National Working Committee.
There wasn't any agreement between Bashir Machina and Ahmad Lawan.
The DPO, the Divisional Police Officer who is on grounds there, went there.
Also giving you a more human angle on the events that matter.
They are not people that live in mansions, but they are people that live in the localities, and the people are afraid to
That's so many issues there in area boys. Then we now went to...
Let's cut the convention and rather have a conversation. Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. We go beyond the news.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
Still today in the news on Now Breakfast, the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics says that the inflation and the cost of transportation in the country declined in October. According to the NBS, in the inflation figures released recently, the inflation of the price of transportation declined to 27.04% from 27.18% recorded in September. With the transport sector being one of the sectors hardest hit by the removal of the subsidy on petrol, many ask why there seems to be stability in the cost of transportation. To get a better sense of how this has happened, Samuel Oyekomi, a senior research analyst with Nairametrics, joins us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Oyekomi.
Good morning.
Can you hear me? Right. Welcome. Now, why are we seeing this decrease in inflation?
Yeah, so what we are seeing right now, a decline to 27.04, it's marginal, right? And just a function of the slow in the pace of increase. So of course, there's still an increase when you do a year-on-year comparison, but it's just that rate at which it is growing is significant. So I might just take you back a little bit. Immediately, the new administration enacted the whole removal of subsidy in, May or June then. In June, immediately transport inflation increased by 0.96% to 24.83%. And then in July, by the time the whole effect of the fuel prices had
hit transport sector, it increased by 1.44%. To 26.27% in that's in July, and that's like the highest increase that we've had in a single month in, to the best of my knowledge, maybe over 15 or 20 years. And it just gives you an indication of how impactful the removal of subsidy was on the transport system. And immediately after July and June, we saw that increase started reducing slightly. So in August, it increased by 0.83% to 27.1%. In September, it increased even very marginal by 0.08% to 27.18%. And those slow pace is an indication that the transport inflation might have peaked. And that peak would have been around that August, July, where, of course, the removal of subsidy was still very much impacting the transportation system. But what we are seeing right now is that pace is now slowing. Of course, it is still increasing, but it is not as impactful as it was immediately the subsidy was removed. And that's why we are seeing transport inflation decline now.
Now, where is the place of policy? I mean, we know that the administration, since its investiture until this very moment, have been embarking on what some might call radical, if you like, transformation, policies and whatnot. So where's the place of policy with regards to driving down what we see with regards to transport prices in the country?
So like what you will see in the case of Lagos State, for example, immediately transport costs went up. Lagos State Transport Management slashed transport fare by 50%. But you and I all know that is not sustainable, because then it seems like that the agency would be running at a loss. And then you can see that about 2 weeks ago, they rescinded that and went back to the usual fee. And then when Nigerians cried out again, we saw that they slashed by 25%. Those policies are just temporary fix. They are not expected to impact on the inflation as a whole in terms of transport costs. But then again, the government agencies, the transport scheme is just one part of the whole larger transportation system. And when MDS is doing its survey, it's going to cut across all facets, right? And that is just one part. So policy, yes, is just going to it's a temporary fix for people, or Nigerians, average people, to not have to spend so much on transportation. But is the prices still going to go up? It definitely will. And to be fair, I'll use Lagos as an example. One thing that some of the surveys that I've carried out in recent times has shown that the prices of transport has been relatively stable in some parts of Lagos, due to the fact that there's just some roads that have been free lately. So before now, earlier in the year, last year, the likes of 3rd Mainland Bridge used to be very blocked, and that's because of the construction that was done at the Code Bridge and whatnot, it was blocked. So since that bridge has been opened, the 3rd Mainland Bridge has been relatively free. And because of that, drivers spend less time on the road, and that will just make them try to at least put the price at a stable point, instead of, rather than initially when it was just going up and down, So I think that's one thing. So of course, if you have good roads, it would also impact on transportation prices, and we won't see the level of volatility that we see these days.
All right then. Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Uyekomi, for joining us on the program this morning. Mr. Uyekomi is a senior research analyst with Nairametrics, and he's joined us this morning to talk about the recent decline in inflation and the cost of transportation in the country. This is according, of course, to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. More conversations coming up.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Every second and every minute, something new happens. The news brings.
People at a spot, and angry mob decided to bomb.
Everyone wants to share it, but not everyone wants to dig deep. Now that's where we come in. We bring you the news and go beyond with in-depth conversations and analysis with stakeholders.
I honestly think that the federal government on its own part has broken.
If voters or more people want to be part of that decision-making process, they need to be part
GDP is not a good measure of development anyway. We are not there. We need to counter the narrative of the fact that our vote does not count. If your vote does not count.
We bring you the story within the story. And that's what makes us tick. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and we go beyond the news.
This is Now Breakfast.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
Still on Now Breakfast this morning, the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee has postponed its meeting slated for yesterday and today. The CBN's Director of Corporate Communications, Isa Abdul Mumin, says the reason for the postponement is because of the Chartered Institute of Bankers holding their 60th anniversary celebration. This is the second time that the committee, saddled with the responsibility of reviewing the economic and financial conditions in the country's economy, is postponing its meeting since the appointment of a new CBN governor. With the current economic situation in the country, many wonder what the impact of this postponement will have on the economy. We're joined this morning by the Chief Executive Officer, Dairy Hills, Kelvin Emmanuel. Mr. Emmanuel, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Right. What are your thoughts on the postponement? That's a conversation we're having this morning. The CBN's Monetary Policy Committee has postponed its meeting slated for yesterday and today. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's laughable that the spokesperson for the CBN will say that the reason for postponement of the 293rd MPC meeting is because of the CIBN conference. Well, what's the business of CIBN with the Central Bank of Nigeria? Like, investors and boards of companies are waiting for direction from the new CBN governor, considering that since he assumed the office of the CBN, inflation has risen 3 times. Headline inflation is 27.3%, food inflation is 31.1%. There has been consecutive inflation increase for 21 months since February 2022. Inflation has gone from 16.75% to 27.3%, and interest rate has risen from 11.5% to 18.75%, which is a 725 basis points increase or 7.25%. So even if the market inflation is not responding to high monetary policy rate, and governor is avoiding having to hold a meeting to hike the rate because inflation has gone up 3 times since he became CBN governor. And he also has a legal excuse of the fact that based on the CBN Act of 2007, the Monetary Policy Committee, which is comprised of the chairman of the board as the CBN governor, 4 deputy governors, 2 members of the board of the bank, who are to non-executive board by the president, and considering that the president dissolved all the boards across MDAs, institutions in Nigeria, and has now reconstituted the board of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And it's also comprised of 3 people appointed from the president at state level, and 2 people appointed by the governor, who are usually the permanent secretary and Minister of Finance and the Accountant General of the Federation. So legally, the CBN governor can say that the MPC is not yet constituted because the board of the central bank, which is a non-executive board, is not been appointed by the president. Yeah, but there is an existential issue here, and the existential issue is that the markets are waiting for forward guidance on 2024 for inflation, for interest rates, and for exchange rates. And the CBN governor postponing the MPC meeting and telling the market that it's because of CIBN conference is pitiful.
Now, specifically,
it's very disturbing.
Yes, specifically because of time. What are the impacts, the direct impact on the base economy?
The direct impact is that the market is in limbo. People don't know the direction the CBN is going because inflation keeps going up, and the CBN governor is not telling the market if he's going to raise the interest rate, or what tools he's using to stabilize the market. If you're not going to raise the interest rate, if you're going to hold, the deputy governors have to write and give the specific reason in details why they voted to hold, or why they voted to raise the rate, or why they voted to cut the rate, so that the market can understand where the CBN is going. Because central banks all over the world have 5 major responsibilities. Number 1, maintain external reserves. Number 2, they have a responsibility to manage inflation or price stability. Number 3, they have a responsibility to act as an advisor and banker to the government, which is contained in Section 2 of the CBN Act of 2007. Number 4, they have a responsibility to issue currency. And number 5, they have a responsibility to act as a lender of last resort to the banks. The CBN has done well on only 2 of 5.
Right.
Act as a lender of last resort and issue currency. It has done it woefully on 3, which is manage external reserves. The external reserves right now is net negative.
All right.
That's one of the reasons why there are no balance
Mr.
of
Emmanuel,
payments to be able
Mr.
to
Emmanuel,
solve
apologies. I'm going to have to break your thoughts because of time. But thank you very much for joining us on the program this morning. Mr. Kelvin Emmanuel is the Chief Executive Officer, Dairy Hills, an industrial feeds organization, speaking to us this morning on the MPC postponing its meeting. Of course, talked about the impact and his thoughts generally on this postponement. Stay close, more conversations coming up with our newsmaker up next. This is Now Breakfast.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
From the north to the south, real people.
So like I said to you, it's some serious elements of the outdone and official of my party whose tenure elapsed, who are pleading with me to endorse an illegal extension, and I refuse to be a part of any illegalities.
Real stories every morning.
Most of the IDP, they stay in schools. And once they move in schools, when there is a disaster, the school in that area is automatically shut down.
This is Today in the News on Now Breakfast.
Babes, now how much be sanitary pad for your area?
Now play we been they play before. Everybody wey dey this place wey be human being na party dey buy take do period. She go bring her wrapper, cut all her wrapper wey she get. They use the do period. Which kind of nonsense be this?
Ijoma, see what you are saying to your fellow woman who is in need. Ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn ti pọ̀ jù.
Now so they use clothes now. Abi we no go chop first.
Auntie Ijoma, what did my mommy ever do to you? It's not fair.
Now if a story be this, My Period, My Pride radio drama season 1. Now sanitary pad media campaign power up with support from MacArthur Foundation and Radio Now 95.3 FM every Saturday at 10 a.m.
The Financial Services Regulation Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, in collaboration with the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, wishes to draw the attention of the public to the activities of illegal financial operators, IFOs, which threaten public trust and the stability of the Nigerian financial system. The general public is hereby advised to refrain from dealing with unlicensed financial operators who deceive individuals with unrealistically high investment returns. Verify the licensing status of such schemes on this website: www.cbn.gov.ng, www.nicom.gov.ng, www.pencom.gov.ng, www.sec.gov.ng. To report any suspicions of illicit financial activities, call 0700 225 5226, 0800 225 5226, or +234 817 665 6273. Announcer, FSRCC.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
This is Now Breakfast.
Welcome back. We are getting into our Newsmaker segment this morning. Since the completion of the 2023 general elections, attention has shifted to the courts that are deciding the petitions arising from the elections. Courts have sacked at least 3 governors whose elections were contested by opposition parties and deemed one election inconclusive barely 9 months after the elections. Now, specifically, the Court of Appeal judgment of the Governorship Tribunal in Kano State and Plateau State has raised some questions. It sacked both governors by ruling that they did not qualify to contest the elections. The court's declaration on cases involving qualification of a candidate to contest in elections being a member of the party has been ruled as pre-election matters. Now, with these fresh judgments, questions like what it means for the judiciary and the future of justice in the country comes to the minds of many. We're joined this morning by the convener of Country First, and also a legal practitioner, Professor Christopher Mokobia Jr. Professor, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be with you.
All right, Professor, react to the issue. Let's get your reaction. So far, we've seen too many cases of tribunals intervention as well as further appeals court judgment, and in the case there have been a few quote and unquote casualties. What are your thoughts?
Let me say clearly that one thing bothers the carapace of my mind, which is the fact that we're beginning to see too many controversial rulings by the courts, particularly regarding electoral and election matters. The reason I call it pretty controversial is the fact that, on the one hand, the judges and justices will tell us that election and electoral matters are sui generis, which means that they are in a class of their own. On the other hand, they will give judgments and verdicts, if you like, that contradicts that posturing or positioning. I think clearly for two reasons. You did note about the ruling of the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja in the case involving the Kano State governor, and with APC as the petitioner. And you also did note the case involving the Plateau State governor, again with the APC as the petitioner. And in the judgments, you find out that the justices have failed to understand that electioneering matters and democracy gives primacy to the people, the electorate. The electorate should determine who governs them, not the courts of law. And I'm speaking deeply here. In the case of Kano, for instance, you are saying that pre-election matters are settled by the Supreme Court, and several other courts of appeal should come to the fore and determine what happens with respect to the status of the governor to run. Instead of blaming INEC, you're taking away the rights of the people, the 165,000 votes in issue. And then again, one curious development regarding particularly the case in Kano is that rather than blame INEC for not bringing enough papers, don't forget that Section 66 or so of the Electoral Act allows votes that were not stamped but agreed upon and allowed by INEC to count. So why does it look like INEC and indeed the APC are interested in putting a bobby trap to deprive the people of Kano of their candidate, the person they voted for? Now, conversely or curiously, in Plateau State, which is the issue at hand, the most curious in this development, you're telling us that the PDP did not have a structure in Plateau State. Take note, David. You're saying that they do not have a structure because they did not conduct valid primaries. The Supreme Court and several other courts of appeal had ruled that pre-election matters are exclusively the responsibilities of the political parties. And then you're saying that because the PDP in Plateau State did not obey a certain court order, that their candidates are not valid. Now note where the controversy is. Pre-election matters, you have ruled that you cannot, somebody in the other party, and not even any person in PDP can plead it, that it must be a candidate in the primaries, a candidate that contested, and none of such happened in Plateau State. It is the APC pleading the pre-election issue. Then the second and very curious part of this whole debacle is the fact that, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go on.
The second part of this debacle is even more curious, that the PDP did not obey a court order before the primaries. The court is standing on it to vitiate or invalidate the candidacy of the governor and remove some members. But on the one hand, you say the election matters are sui generis. So how can you rule on disobedience of court order as sufficient to deny the people of Plateau State their elected governor?
Isn't that,
elected
Professor? Isn't that in and of itself, grounds for anyone to be in trouble with the law?
In election matters, if you say the election matters are sui generis, you have to now deal with the parties differently. You're talking about people who have voted for a certain candidate. If you make mistakes, go correct mistakes. Don't punish the electorate. You know, it's funny that we fail to understand that democracy devolves on the people, the electorate, not the courts of law.
Okay.
Not on technicalities.
All right. Now,
not on technicalities. These are the mistakes we're making.
Okay,
if
Professor.
it fails to be the will and the wishes of the people, if you subject democracy and decisions of the courts of law to technicalities and remove it from the will of the people, it ceases to be democracy. It becomes a government of the courts, by the courts, and for the courts.
All right. Now, Professor, because of time, is this telling, all these cases, are they telling of what could possibly be the future of our elections going forward?
No, clearly what it's saying is, David, clearly what these developments are saying is, we already have a cliche in town, snatch it, run away with it, whatever you do, go to court. So now the courts are becoming the basis on which whoever becomes president, who becomes governor, who's elected, stands. If you have the courts, and I have further extended this cliche, go to court means we own the court. And that is what is happening everywhere now. The states that the ruling party lost in the elections, they're beginning to surreptitiously get back through the courts of law. And that's not healthy for our democracy. We do not want a one-party state. We want a democracy that works for the good of all. We want a democracy that serves the purpose of making lives better for our people.
All right, Professor, still following that train of thought as to what this entails for our democracy. Democracy by its very nature is supposed to allow for citizens, or the electorate in this case, to have maximum choice, but in our case it seems to have generated bad politicians in the country. What are we doing wrong?
You know what, let me say, there's a whole lot of things that are wrong with what I call at best this legal rule. Because politics has become the most expensive and the most lucrative business, people do not care about how we deepen the frontiers of democracy. You know that, I'll give you a practical instance. Recently, and you are aware, that allegedly about 160 million naira has been spent on cars for the legislature. A professor who is to save practically everything he earns a month. If you save everything you earn a month for 30 years, you won't be able to make that much. So there's an attraction politics, and people kill, snatch, run away with the ballots and mess up our democratic process because it's absolutely business oriented. And until we're able to rework not only our laws, but the people who allocate revenues and resources to members of, to those who are political operators, until we're able to reduce the attraction to these offices and these positions on account of what they earn, we may not be able to correct some of these anomalies because it is absolutely monetized. It's absolutely people are going there to serve personal embers,
right?
And then the National Assembly and the National Assembly must give vent to the Justice Uwere's recommendation as to who appoints the electoral umpire.
Right.
You must remove the appointing authority, the appointing powers of the INEC chairman from the president to another authority who may not be able to force him to do certain things. And then thirdly, there is need for a reawakening of our moral margins as a people and as a nation. Save and except some of these things are done, we will continue to have our elections go down the abyss. You know, it's becoming a terrible trajectory. After Professor. February 25th and March 18th.
Okay.
November 11 has been an eyesore and a sickening travesty of sorts.
Okay, Professor. Now, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, who's been very, very vocal, in matters of governance in the country, recently at a function talked about us, not doing well, if you like, with liberal democracy that was, introduced to us. According to him, countries of the continent have no business whatsoever in operating a system which they have no hands in its definition and its design. So essentially, once you move from all the people to the representatives of the people, you start to encounter, there are problems that would definitely be encountered along the way. Now, for those who define it as the rule of the majority, what then happens to the minority? Should they be ignored? Should they be neglected? Should they be excluded? That is the question. What are your thoughts?
I think the former president was speaking out of frustration. So many of us are indeed frustrated with the kind of civilian rule that we call democracy in this part of the world. I want to say that what we actually call democracy was practiced in so many African countries before even the Europeans and the Greeks came up with it. We had what we call some kind of parliamentary system of governance in the old Eastern republics. Permit my choice of words. The East, you never really had monarchs who were overlords. You had a republican system in the old Eastern region, and then even in the Western region, you had the Alaafin wasn't the complete. He wasn't the dictator. He wasn't an absolute monarch. You had the Ogbonis and several other levels of authorities around him. So we've had what I call pure democracy in Africa, even before the Greeks. The point is that when you have this kind of democracy where a few individuals serve as overlords for selfish interests, you get frustrated. That's actually where former President Obasanjo was coming from. There is a frustrating air in this country where less than 2% of Nigerians, in the name of being in power, amass our resources, use them the way they want. In 6 months of the present administration, all you've seen is appropriations. Nobody's really thinking about how to kickstart recalibrate the economy and make Nigerians better. Instead, our inflationary rate has not only doubled, it's gone up to about 27%. So we're living in a country where things must indeed be done differently, and that's exactly what President Obasanjo is talking about. Former President Obasanjo is talking about. We have to turn things around for the better. We must look for a system that truly encapsulates the interests of the people, the wishes of the people.
All right, thank you very much for joining us this morning on the program, Professor Chris Nwokobia. Many thanks.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you so much.
Right, Professor Nwokobia is the convener of Country First, and he is also a lawyer. He's joined us this morning as our newsmaker. Thank you also for staying tuned. Very shortly, the news headlines comes up at the top of the hour. Then, of course, we get into some more conversations on the news review. I am David Shiedu. Good morning.
You're listening to Now Breakfast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
The news that matters the most is the news that hits closest to home. If it touches your business, your family, your city, your schools, or your safety, we've got you covered. Everything that affects you is our concern. So, we go beyond, getting all the facts and serving you news and information you can trust.
There was 10 million liters of fuel made available at some point, which was not made available at the time because obviously it had to be brought in.
The attack this Gayo village, Keru, and the Takalafia village yesterday is one of the many attacks.
Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Beyond the news.
Connect with us now via our social media channels. Facebook.com/RadioNow953FM.
We're on Twitter too. Connect with us there and get involved.
At Radio Now 953FM. 953FM. Like what we do? Share it on your socials and tell everyone.
Want to see some more of us? Head over and meet us on Instagram
at Radio Now 953FM. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
It's midday, yeah? But it's redefined. It's the best of everything. Color up your midday with the right serving of goodness. We're talking insightful interviews,
global prevalence,
refreshing conversations, thrilling sports stories, and delightfully soothing great music. All on your Beyond the News station. It gets better and invigorating every moment on The Midday Show. Tune in to The Midday Show every weekday, 9 a.m. on Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. What do cryptocurrencies, the National Information Technology Development Agency, space exploration, video games, music streaming, and artificial intelligence have in common? From education to finance, to agriculture, to health, to music and film. Technology continues to transform modern socio-economic life in expected and unexpected ways. On Tech Now, we break down concepts, analyze technology news, and speak to members of the vast tech ecosystem. To find out, tune in to Tech Now every Tuesday at 9:05 a.m. on Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos.
Every Saturday on Radio Now 95.3 FM, listen and win awesome prizes on the My Period, My Pride radio drama giveaway. You could be the lucky winner for the week. To participate, simply listen to My Period, My Pride radio drama every Saturday at 10 a.m. and stand a chance to win by answering the questions correctly. Send your correct answers to our WhatsApp number 0809 682 2595. That is 0809 682 2595 with the hashtag MyPeriodMyPride. Be the winner on My Period My Pride radio drama giveaway. Again, it's Saturday 10 a.m. on Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos.
The issues are all around us, but who talks about them? law enforcement breaking the law, property owners ripping off tenants, political office holders taking the electorate for granted? Or is it the plague of recurring bad policies made by the government? These are the issues. Let's talk about these and more at the Round Table. Stay locked on to Radio Now 95.3 FM every weekday as we discuss these hot topics around us on the Round Table on Now Express. The Round Table, weekdays 5:30 p.m.
In order to keep up with our culture of excellence and continue to bring you the very best of radio programming, we invite you, our dear esteemed listener, to share your concerns with us on any of our content and or broadcast practices that you consider unsatisfactory. You can reach us via WhatsApp on 0809 682 2595. That is 0809 682 2595. This is for us to get your feedback on our efforts to continue to build and maintain our relationship with you and also to serve you better. Thank you for choosing Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
Connect with us now via our social media channels. Facebook.com/Radio Now 953FM.
We're on Twitter too. Connect with us there and get involved.
At Radio Now 953FM. 953FM. Like what we do? Share it on your socials and tell everyone.
Want to see some more of us? Head over and meet us on Instagram
at Radio Now 953FM. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Stay tuned to your Beyond the News station daily for our up-to-the-minute compact news bulletins from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., 4 p.m. and 6 p.m., bringing you a wide range of local and international news from our news desk. Stay informed, stay updated on Radio Now 95.3 FM.
Across Nigeria, Africa and the world, this is Radio Now News.
Headline news at 8 here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. In local news, Lagos dislodges occupants to demolish shanties in Ijegun. Ondo Monarch docked for defamation of character. Tanker drivers deny embarking on nationwide strike. IPAC threatens to sue Gombe Electoral Commission over local government polls. And in business, your money safe in Nigeria, Tinubu tells investors. On the foreign scene, 29 Gaza babies evacuated to Egypt as Hamas reports deadly hospital strike. And to sports, Mendy sues Manchester City over unpaid wages. These are the headlines at 8 this morning on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Many thanks for joining us. I am David Chiedu. Up next is the news review.
This is Radio Now News.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations. From the north to the south, real people.
So like I said to you, it's some serious elements of the outdone end of issue of my party whose tenure elapsed, who are pleading with me to endorse an illegal extension, and I refuse to be a part of any illegal.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations. Let's go beyond the news. Let's talk facts.
First and foremost, the government will never kowtow to the threat of any group to give it conditions.
Let's discuss your opinion.
The politicians in Nigeria don't understand the principle of politics.
Today's biggest news stories.
IPOB have been covered in themselves in glory. There is nothing special about them. It's like a witch cried at night and the child died falling money.
This is the news review on Now Breakfast.
Good morning.
Grab a seat.
Once again, and welcome to the news review here on Now Breakfast on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. I am David Chiedu, and seeing us this Tuesday, our Tuesday man joins us, Mr. Biodun Shomi, joins us this morning on the news review. Good morning, Mr. Shomi.
Good morning.
Right, would love to get your thoughts as always. Let's have a conversation and touch on the big issues on the dailies this morning. 091 35,000 953 and 0901 111 1953. On WhatsApp, you can also be a part of the conversation there. 0809 682 2595. That is 0809 682 2595, and that is of course making it easy for you to communicate with us from anywhere in the world, from wherever you're listening to us, which by the way you can also find coming in easy when you log on to www.thisisradionow.com/listen dash live. You want to click on the listen live button, and that's as easy as it gets. Right, let's get on with the stories this morning. The Daily Trust is reporting what the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, has said with regards to our democracy. It says Western democracy not working for Africa. Obasanjo says underneath that headline, a couple riders, Nigerians gradually losing faith, says Atiku. No trust between leaders and followers. Fayemi says politicians' attitude, the problem, Lamido says, and Sislak is saying that ex-president lacks moral ground to pontificate on democracy. Now, a lot of the conversations regarding this have centered around whether or not what we are practicing is good for us, what we're practicing by way of democracy, if you like, is good for us, or perhaps we need to redefine our own idea of it, or our own concept of it. In this case here, where former President Olusegun Obasanjo is talking, he did say that the idea of liberal democracy is a farce, is farcical at best, and that we don't need it, seeing as we weren't part of its structural design from the get-go, and that what we need is something that would include everybody, not just the majority, which, in a manner of speaking, is subjective. Who exactly do you call the majority? And if there is any such thing, and we're going by that, how about the other ones who, for all intents and purposes, are being qualified or classified as a minority? Should their thoughts not count? That is essentially the conversation, around town. Mr. Shomi, what are your thoughts?
Yes, when what we need to note about what President Obasanjo is trying to say or achieve is to carry out a review. He has actually reviewed the presidential system of government, which he introduced in 1979. We should not forget that we had a parliamentary system of government in up to 1963, then 66, then we had the Civil War, and military was in power till 1979. Obasanjo introduced presidential system of government. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's also nothing wrong with reviewing the system and saying, look, is this achieving the purpose? And for Obasanjo, the purpose is about inclusion of all, and also dividends of democracy. And in his view, he felt that the present system is winner takes all, and is only allowing, in many cases, minority to win, to take the lead in building the nation. And he felt that is wrong, because the views and interests of the majority are not adequately represented. I agree with that position absolutely, and also the fact that Nigerians are not getting the dividends of democracy, expected. I also agree with that conclusion, if those are the issues which I think is trying to project. Because when you look at our system of government currently, if you allow me to cite an example with this present administration, we have 35% of the voters, of those who voted, electing President Bola Tinubu to govern the country. And the question is, what happens to the remaining 65%? The 35% mandate, will only focus on the manifesto which he promised the electorate. So what about the manifesto of the other people? There are at least 65% of the electorate who voted for one thing or the other in the other political parties. So therefore, we are in a system where it's winner takes all. It could even be a minority, that wins the election. Once you win the election, you are fully in charge. So that is the problem with the present system. So we need to have a more representative system of government, like the parliamentary system, where votes will be, seats will be based on the vote secured. If you secure 35% of the votes, you would only have 35% of the seats in parliament. And therefore, all views and shades of opinion will be reflected. So that is not what we have currently, and that is what I think Obasanjo is campaigning for.
When you speak about all shades and hues of opinions, essentially, that's exactly what the case is right now. Because some people, including the opinions of former President Obasanjo, say that. Or posit that ours is not a proper democracy. Some others say that, listen, our democracy has matured, and by the very reason of its maturing, if you like, and coming into its own, it's help keep a steady ship, for the longest time. What are your thoughts regarding that?
Well, I don't think this is actually about matured or immature democracy. If you look at our America, where we copy the presidential system of government, the country is badly divided. No matter how we look at it, you have the right, the right wing, and those who are considered to be Democrats, supposedly left wing. So the country is badly divided into two, and then you have the right wing being championed, by Donald Trump, and that is the kind of thing which Obasanjo is trying to refer to. That look, you would end up with a badly divided country. We have seen in America where Hillary Clinton won majority of the votes. She won majority of the votes, but through the collegiate system, someone else was elected, and she lost. So I think those are the contradictions which he is referring to in terms of ensuring that all shades of opinion are properly represented. Under the present system of government, it is only the winner that the views will get represented, or the program will get reflected, not the views and the programs of all aspirants, even though they could have lost the election.
All right, 091-350-953. Those are the numbers to call. It's 091-350-953 and 0901-111-1953 on WhatsApp. Let's also have your thoughts regarding this particular conversation. 0809-682-2595. I mean, just think about it broadly. Just as you've mentioned, in the USA, I mean, say that again? Right, Ede is joining us this morning. Hi, Ede. Good morning.
Good morning, Chidi.
Good morning. It's David. Hi, Ede. How's it going?
It's not going well in Nigeria. It's not going well in the house.
Okay. First of all, tell us where you're calling from, and then go on ahead with your thoughts.
I come from Egbeda, under the bridge at Egbeda.
Okay, Ede, talk to us.
Do you know Egbeda very well? Do you know whether the Egbeda have under the bridge?
Well, I'm not very familiar with Egbeda.
They have bridge at all? Okay, don't worry. That's
okay, Dopemu under bridge.
No, Egbeda, under the bridge at Egbeda.
Okay.
I know what I'm talking about. I'm not missing words.
Okay. But I reckon there is no bridge under, or rather, there is no bridge at Egbeda. But go on with your thoughts.
That is about you, not about me. Me who know where I'm living.
All right. Tell us what's on your mind.
Before I move on, please. I heard that Nabira went to fight with his governor, to the Supreme Court. Is that true?
It would appear so, but that is what you know. What we know is that she needed time off, so I said, you know what, go and rest and put your feet up.
Rest, because she went, because why did she go on the day they attack his governor?
Let us have your thoughts, so talk to us.
Okay, good. Chedu, can we put this on the table, right? I've told people who cares to know. I'm not good in calling radio every day, right? But I listen. Moreover, you people, I listen to you people because of my short mind. I told people that who cares to know that when Nigeria is traveling on the 6-lane highway, and now because of the way we are handling the road, the about 4 lanes have already closed. We are traveling on the 2-lane alone. Only 2 lanes is containing us now. We will be continue to pray that before the end of this tenure, we will not have only 1 lane, which is, you know, that it will not contain all of us, right? Now, Mr. Obasanjo, anytime Obasanjo talk, please, Obasanjo stand to gain nothing in Nigeria for now. He stand to gain nothing. He's talking about what you people who still have a long way to go, who is traveling on a mirage, to calm down and pause, check. So Obasanjo stand to gain nothing. If you want, let from him. If you don't want, throw him with your inaptitude way of life. It does not concern the man again. I have to send the message. And each time he talk, please, there is a lot of lesson to learn from him. And each time the man talk, I just pause and learn. It doesn't talk like it's not a charlatan. Just like the characters we have now. Just take it from me, right?
Right.
So Nigeria is traveling on 6-lane highway.
Okay.
We will be very careful.
All right, Ede. Thank you very much for calling.
Good morning. Good morning, Chid.
Good morning to you too. And by the way, it is David. David being the first name. All right. But thank you very much, Ede. 091 35000 953 0901 111 1953 and on WhatsApp 0809 682 2595. Now, Mr. Shomi, let me take on the thoughts of the last caller, Ede, where he spoke about Mr. Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo, that is. When he speaks, you know, people should listen because he really doesn't have much to gain. I mean, he's not in power. He's not looking to get in power, but you know, he just has the interest of Nigeria at heart. But some other people think that you know, he doesn't have the moral ground, or he lacks moral standing, if you like, to give his opinions on the same issue which he contributed, you know, while he was the #1 citizen of the state. Essentially, you cannot pontificate because you were part of the problem. Sislak being one of those people, you know, putting their voices to that effect in recent time. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I don't necessarily share the views of
Mr. Shomi, apologies, I'm going to have to halt your thoughts for a second. Chief Joseph just joined us. Chief Joseph, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chief Joseph. Welcome. Talk to us.
Yeah. The man that just called, Ede.
Yes.
Though he talks with a style of amusement.
Oh yeah, I was amused.
That man is a very knowledgeable person. He has good thoughts. Obasanjo is another statesman, and during his tenure, he saved Nigeria. He brought Nigeria out of the woods. He made us have external reserve because he brought the best hands to govern this country. Even during his military era, the people who knows about leadership, we know that the man gave us thought to be Nigerian. So for him to come out and speak at this stage of his life, those who are criticizing him, that means they are the enemies of this country. The man that, like Ede said, has nothing at stake anymore because he's winding up to the end of the road. But he's giving us advice to have a second thought about our country. At least let Nigerians be wise. We are winding into dictatorship. Look at what is happening to us through the court. And nobody is talking. Those who are educated ones in Nigeria, they are docile. They are afraid of death, but they must die one day. And all of us are checking out. The lawyers, they can't form a front. The doctors, the architects, those who claim they are educated in this country. Everybody is kicking out, and we are dying. I beg, Ede, may God continue to bless the type of person. A person who has no money at stake. Even during his tenure, the whole money he made, he invested in this country. He has a farm. All his companies are here in Nigeria. But look at what is happening to us. Capital flight. People are removing the money. They live abroad. They send their children abroad. Nobody wants to improve anything we have in this country. Obasanjo is talking to us. We are criticizing him. Nigerians should wake up.
All right,
we are winding up to doom because I know one day we'll start assassinating our leaders and then creating more confusion in this country.
All right, Chief Joseph.
The poor can never have it going this way. It is becoming too much.
Okay, thank you, Chief Joseph.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've got John joining us. Hi, John. Good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much. How are you?
Fine, thank you very much. I want to just say that without fear of contradiction, Olusegun Obasanjo is possibly the greatest Nigerian that has ever lived. And there is nobody living today in Nigeria that has the best eye view of Nigeria that man has. And so, yesterday, for example, let me give you, yesterday, President Jimmy Carter of the U.S., his wife died, yesterday, his wife died. When he was president of the United States, he and Obasanjo were co-presidents at the same time, or co-heads of state at the same time. And the two of them formed a friendship and a partnership that is beyond description in its time. So people who don't understand where this man is coming from and the kind of things he's telling us are the ones who easily criticize or who easily get to say what he has to say. Obasanjo, as a military head of state, had absolutely the gumption to perpetuate himself in power. But he kept to his promises or the promises of his government, and he ensured that he led the transition that ushered in the Second Republic. There are opportunities that man has had to entrench himself as a dictator, and he would have been able to perpetuate himself in power. But at every point in time, when he got the opportunity, he continued standing on the premise of democracy and the rule of law. And so people who don't have an understanding of what it is to live in a society of laws are the ones that continue to perpetuating this brigandage against him.
Right.
The Nigeria of today is heading into self-destruction. If Nigerian leaders do not begin to heed the advice of people like President Obasanjo, and I pray that we still have the opportunity of more years with him, so that he can continue to advise and act as a sage and a beacon of direction for our leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you. Dr. Paul, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Paul. Yes.
Well, it sounds really ridiculous and laughable. All these people and the guy saying Obasanjo. Obasanjo is the architect of Nigerian progress. I'm saying this straight from the social so that without intervention. When he was the elected president, when he completed the Murtala tenure, 2.something billion was missing, which is the last time. Panel was kept up.
2.8 actually.
I wasn't happy that this man came back with military arrest 99. Tell me where he took this country from 99 to 2007. All this election rigging that was established by him. If the government said, when he was there, he said this election must be do or die. I think the man was the president. God saw him that he was his own. All PDP governors were returned impunity, everyday corruption. And people are saying we should have 4 years with them. To do what? All this election, we are happy to do. Under his what, 8 years. Did he do anything? Rather reading, he makes sure that if we go back, we are not inside the institution. When that was committed under his word, what about the 6 billion? You see, our professors, people will prove this issue. I don't think Obasanjo will be free on that. So, what are we hearing from him that we have died in Nigeria? Even if you are making a rational speech, sorry, it will be like water for the back of a dog. No effect. All these things saying, when he was there 8 years, what he took Nigeria, I'm telling you, 3 hours foreign dead, 3 hours foreign dead, they bring the fruit of the boom. That's the question. You clear this and that. This is a little issue under him. We shall be having a better election. If we put all this in order, they're going to have people like Tinubu and Buhari in power today. But he was, they are using power, no man doing everything, you don't talk to him, he's God and so on. David, what can you do with Obasanjo of this country? In the last 8 years, you say you are proud of him. So, you know what advice to me? That advice is dead and arrival.
All right,
it's
Dr.
meaningless.
Paul. All right, Dr.
Take us anywhere.
All right, Dr.
I'm saying this straight from the shoulder without reservation.
Okay.
Obasanjo is part of Nigerian problem today.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Paul. But many would disagree with you and say that, he was one of the frontliners, if you like, of development in the country during his 8-year tenure. Of course, there isn't any perfect outing by any leader, any world leader. There isn't any 100% outing. However, as far as developmental strides are concerned, many would say that former President Olusegun Obasanjo, both as a military leader and as a Democrat, contributed positively in the development of the country as we know it to be. Mr. Shomi, let's come back to your thoughts.
Yes. On the issue of President Obasanjo having to be prescriptive after his own diagnosis of the problem, there is nothing wrong in Obasanjo introducing presidential system of government in Nigeria. After some time, once you see how it's operational, it calls for a review. And precisely, I think that is what Obasanjo is calling for. That it's time to review it. That it has its own shortcomings. And we probably need to look inwards and evolve our own democracy in a way that will meet our own needs as African people. And that's probably what he's calling Afro-democracy or something like that.
Yes.
So irrespective of that, Obasanjo may be seen to be part of the problem, but it's not the cause of the problem. The problem is systemic. It's the structure. We used to think that good leadership will solve our problem. We've now seen how the structure.
Say that again. I think we're having some network glitches there.
We're calling for. Can you hear me?
Yes, please
Hello?
go on. Please go on.
Yeah, that is why many people in the past were calling for restructuring, and people are still calling for restructuring. Is to address the problem. We used to think it's good leadership. It's not necessarily good leadership. It's building the institutions within an acceptable structure that will promote development and unity of the diverse people of our country. And I think Obasanjo has come to that realization. Nobody's saying it's a moral compass, but I would align with President Obasanjo, Tinubu, who in 2014 described Obasanjo as a compass to help us navigate out of the problem. That is at the height of the campaign for the elections to bring in Buhari. So if he's a compass, he identified him as a compass to help us navigate out of the problem. So probably Obasanjo is playing the same role now, saying that, look, this thing is not going well as we think it should, and then probably we need to review it. So that's within that context, I will agree. But I don't necessarily see him as a moral compass. No, that's not the issue. It's not about morality. It's about identifying the problem and profiling a solution to it. And that's what Obasanjo has just done.
091350953 and 0901111953 on WhatsApp 080968229595. Let's also pivot a little bit to The Guardian. They're reporting this morning that headline in front: government considers new MPC members as uncertainty rocks economy. Now that headline has a very attractive infographic. Food inflation 31.5%, inflation rate 27.33%, exchange rate 1.13 trillion, 1.13, and then interest rate 18.75. Now, I'm curious, at this point in time, for the second time in a row, Mr. Shomi, the central bank has missed the rate fixing MPC meeting, essentially leaving an open room for speculations on, Mr. Cardoso's strategic policy direction and his approach to inflation control, and also even the current composition of the arm. Before you go on with your thoughts, let's hear from Shegun. Hi, good morning, Shegun.
Good morning.
Good morning. What are your thoughts? Go on.
I agree with the analyst saying that we have a very wrong structure, a bad structure. I think, but also, if we have a good leader with a good structure, I think this country will have perfect. Because most of our leaders, how many of them can come out with their wealth they acquired so far and said that they want to drop it to save this nation in this mess? But so this means that, again, let me just give you example. For instance, when somebody came to Jesus Christ, when he was doing the time that, okay, I have done this, I've done that, it's okay, go and sell your wealth and give it to the poor. He cannot do it, he left. So how many leaders can do such a thing? Many of them, they are just in the house. Then the House of Assembly, they are in this place, they are in this. They are there to represent themselves. They don't have the passion. If we have a good structure, we have a good leader, I think this nation would have been perfect. So that's my take. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shegun. All right, let's come back to your thoughts, Mr. Shomi. So the CBN boss, Cardoso, is at the heart of this next conversation. The MPC, the government is considering a new membership of the MPC. Because of what the economy looks like and its uncertainties. What are your thoughts?
Yes, the MPC was supposed to meet in September, and that was postponed, and that has not happened.
Yes, this is the second time it's happening.
Due to the fact that we have a new CBN governor. There's an ongoing probe of the CBN itself, not only the former governor Emefiele, but also CBN activities. The probe is ongoing. We also know that there may be the need to reconstitute the MPC to mirror whatever improvement, which other suggestions like that will come out of the Jim Obazi probe committee. So we know that is ongoing already. So, and also the fact that NPC is supposed to meet minimally 4 times a year, and they've already had 4 meetings already. That does not mean that they could not have more meetings in relation to the development within particularly the new monetary policy of the CBN. But the fact of the matter is, one should not expect any monetary policy committee meeting before his reconstitution or before the final report of Jim Obazi's investigation into the activities of CBN is released, because the federal government has already committed itself to the position CBN to its core functions. And within that context, there has to be an holistic review, and that is what is going on. In my view, that is probably what is delaying the reconstitution of NPC. Is probably the report, the final report that is yet to come out, is what is leading to the delay in reconstituting the NPC, and consequently to the meeting again not holding yesterday.
There's some concerns about what the implications would be for the economy and the trickle-down effect on the ordinary Nigerian following all of what's going on. What are your thoughts regarding that?
Yes, there have been arguments about that it will lead to a period of uncertainty, and investors will be wary about whether they are not sure about the policy direction, what should happen to inflation, the base rate point and all that. There have been so many arguments like that. But the fact of the matter is, the inflation is at its highest ever. And the prescription of IMF is that we should take certain actions in order to curb inflation, particularly the supply of money within the economy to further curb it. I don't think the present government will necessarily agree with that, given the fact that life is already tough. If we now curb further spending within the economy, what it means is it will probably stunt growth, because we are not producing enough in any case in order to export. It will stunt growth. It will not address the concerns around inflation, because it's not spending that led, to the spiral, the sporadic increases in inflation within our economy. Some of them are due to government policies. For instance, removal of fuel subsidy is part of the issue, and that is meant to generate more revenue for federal government, but not necessarily that has not translated into more money for the people, and it has actually devalued people's spending, by about 100%. And if that is the case, if you put further curbs as recommended by IMF, that may further dwindle the living standard of the people, and that is not what the government wants to achieve.
Now, considering where we are with the exchange rate at over 1,000, it's 1,130 now, which is a source of concern, particularly for business owners who are who are import inclined, as it were. Are you optimistic in any way, shape, or form with regards to the current composition right now of the leaders of the fiscal sector?
Yes, we know why we are in this situation. In the first instance, we know that we're spending about between $25 and $30 billion to import PMS into the country. On a year-on-year basis. If we take PMS off the forex table by revamping a refinery, which the federal government said Port Harcourt should come on stream by the end of December, and sometime by the last quarter of 2024, we should be having Kaduna, on stream. If we keep to that timetable, that probably will have the demand for PMS, forex for PMS, and if Dangote is also able to come on stream in full stream, it still will not solve the problem, because Dangote is located within, the export processing zone, so they're going to charge in dollars anyway. It will not necessarily reduce, the forex needs of the country, but it may also bring in more forex, for the country in another way. So we also know that the oil, which has been through forward contract, has been sold up till the end of December. Hopefully, by the new year, by the end of the first quarter of the new year, payments for new oil, crude oil lifted between January and March, will begin to come in, and then we may begin to see an improvement in our foreign reserve and also in our foreign earnings. Even though the debt overhang is still there, which is crushing the economy, but we might be in a better position not only to service the debt, but also have some forex liquidity within the system.
All right, let's go to your message. We'll round up with that. Kola Wale Karim says, I think everyone should stop acting as if they have not contributed to the economic crisis facing the country. When we vote for politicians, not because they have the best manifestos on how to solve the problems, but we voted for candidates based on emotions. For example, the Igbos, Yorubas and Fulani relatively voted for their tribes, who also promised to implement the bad policy of subsidy removal, which has now devastated our economy. However, now that the economy is bad, all of us are now suffering from it. My advice to all for next time is let's focus on candidates' manifestos and debate them strongly before we head to the poll and vote for the candidates who has the best plan. Well, in response to that, Kola Wale, there were debates that were held before the election. A number of candidates showed up, except one, and the one that didn't show up. So yeah, I mean, these things were talked about, they were laid bare, the conversations were had, but we are where we are. Unfortunately, the president didn't quite attend most of those interviews held in this part, except a few others outside the shores of the country. But again, these things were had. Thank you very much, Mr. Shomi, for joining us on the program this morning. Many thanks.
Thank you for having me.
That's the news review. Up next is Business Now. Aramide Folorunsho is standing by. I like to call her Aramoni. She's going to give you all the latest in business this morning. Stay close.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
News and information go around every second. The ones who deliver it and how matter. We give you depth. Substance from the real sources.
I made statements in that regard, and the first point I called was the National Working Committee.
There wasn't any agreement between Bashir Machina and Ahmad Lawan.
The DPO, the Divisional Police Officer who is on ground there, went there.
Also giving you a more human angle on the events that matter.
They are not people that live in mansions, but they are people that live in the localities, and the people are afraid to
We had so many issues there in area boys. Then we now went to...
Let's cut the convention and rather have a conversation. Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. We go beyond the news.
From the Central Business District of Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, this is 95.3 Business Now.
Tuesday, the 21st of November. A very warm welcome to the program. I am Aramide Folorunsho, and these are your business quick takes. The Nigerian government has sealed a $2.2 billion solar photovoltaics deal with Sun Africa, an international organization that supports Africa's energy needs. The Minister of Power, Bayo Adelabu, announced that the initial phase of the project will focus on delivering 961 megawatt peak of solar PV infrastructure and 455 megawatt hour of battery energy storage valued at approximately $2.2 billion. Well, the Nigeria Sovereign Investment Authority has signed a $500 million renewables investment platform to boost Nigeria's renewable energy drive and deepen access to electricity. The investment agency also signed a memorandum of understanding with the International Finance Corporation as a strategic partner for a pilot investment and more in core focus areas of the platform. Global investment banking leader Morgan Stanley Capital International says President Bola Tinubu's policies, including ending fuel subsidies and unifying the exchange rate, could lead to economic growth for Nigeria. MSCI noted in a report that the interventionist policies of former President Muhammad Buhari, including multiple foreign exchange rates and fuel subsidies, led to economic bottlenecks and hindered private sector's growth. The report also revealed that Nigeria, one of the fastest growing economies in the world from 2001 to 2014, only grew by 1.4% compared to 2.8% growth in the working age population. Well, the Securities and Exchange Commission has reaffirmed its commitment towards deepening the market to support the $1 trillion economic target by the President Tinubu-led federal government. The Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Lamido Yuguda, says the target is realizable and achievable if the capital market is properly harnessed, disclosing that the Commission had set up a group to look at achieving the desired economic threshold set by the government. The annual bankers address by the central bank governor under the umbrella of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria is scheduled for this Friday in Lagos. The new CBN chief Olayemi Cardoso is expected to present an economic roadmap for the country at the dinner event. According to a statement from the CIBN, the forum, entitled The Governor's Day, will provide Cardoso the opportunity to address stakeholders on the state of the economy and the financial markets, as well as economic outlook for the coming year. Well, coming up after the break, the Central Bank of Nigeria has again cancelled its rate setting meeting for November. Join us again, everyone.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
Be a part of our online community on Facebook. Like our page on www.facebook.com/This Is Radio Now to join every conversation on air and get up-to-date news information on the go.
We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
Welcome back to Business Now. Nigeria's central bank on Monday announced the cancellation of its two-day November monetary policy meeting, coming after a similar cancellation of the September rate setting and market briefing meeting. Let's dig for more on this now with Johnson Chukwu, an investment securities professional and the group CEO at Kauri Asset Management. Good morning, sir, and great to have you on Business Now.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. How much do you market professionals know about why the central bank is cancelling the monetary policy meetings consecutively, sir?
Well, what I would say is that it's all based on our conjectures or our estimation of the current market environment that we can hazard a guess of why, because central bank was very sparse in communication. But the basic thing we have recognized as market operators is that in the first place, the September meeting was coming at a period when the new central bank governor had just been appointed and the previous central bank governor was still in the station, and the then executive board of the central bank had been dissolved and the new board appointed. I can't remember whether they had been approved at that point, the new board by the central bank. But secondly, the other non-executive members of the Monetary Policy Committee have not been appointed. So as we stand today, the people who ordinarily would have held that meeting are only the executive members coming from the central bank. They are non-members of the central bank that are members of the Monetary Policy Committee. That has not been constituted. So you can actually say that the Monetary Policy Committee of the central bank has not been reconstituted. So I think that's the most compelling reason why the two MPC meetings did not hold, that of September and that of November. I believe that until the Monetary Policy Committee membership is reconstituted, we should not expect an MPC meeting. But I think that should happen soonest because we can't continue to allow that lacuna when it comes to monetary policy management.
Indeed, because some might be wondering, is it important for central banks to hold monetary policy meetings, and as when they are scheduled and why?
Yes, it is. One is that managing an economy requires robust deliberation, and the Monetary Policy Committee, given the robustness of the constitution of their office membership, have a primary duty to review the macroeconomic outlook, the macroeconomic data, and then come up with appropriate policies that will ensure price stability in the economy as well as encourage economic growth. So it is not solely an internal affair of the central bank. And for that reason, it is necessary that the MPC meeting holds. And remember that MPC decisions signpost the direction of policy orientation of monetary authorities. Whether you want to encourage expansionary monetary policies or want to encourage contractionary monetary policies, they are signposted by decisions taken. So that's why the MPC is important.
But again, what is the message to the market, to investors, businesses, and the wide economy, as the central bank gave no concrete reason for cancelling the MPC meetings?
Well, the message, like I said, is that we don't have the Monetary Policy Committee in place, and therefore investors and market operators are taking cues from policy announcements of the central bank or initiatives or actions, not just announcements, actions of the central bank. For instance, we saw the central bank auction 364-day bills on 8th of November at 16.75%. So that signposts an indication of possible monetary policy, contractionary monetary policy stance of the central bank. So that is the central bank policy pronouncements or actions have now become a proxy for the direction or monetary policy direction, which the Monetary Policy Committee should have given clarity to.
Okay. How do you think the CBN should move forward in the new year 2024?
Well, the first thing is that the central bank was doing everything possible to stabilize the exchange rate. And that would mean that it has to work with the fiscal authorities to, at the minimum, clear a substantial part of the areas of unmet FX demand. Two, the central bank must, the central bank government has to focus on its price stability objectives. Macroeconomic instability, or the type we have where you saw wide fluctuations in the exchange rate, inflation continuing an uptick at 27.33%, are not conducive for productive activities. So in the coming year, I think the central bank should do everything possible to maintain price stability within the economy.
Indeed, Johnson Chukwu, investment securities professional and the CEO at Cowrie Asset Management. We appreciate your insights as always on key market issues such as this. Do have a great day ahead, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. All right, let's give you a snapshot of our Monday's trading day. We'll start with the equities. The Nigerian equities market kicked off the week on a negative note. That was driven by sell pressures on Stanbic IBTC, recording a loss of 7.1%, Zenith Bank 0.75% in the waters. Nigerian Breweries 2.50%, Access Corp saw a dip 0.58%. We've also seen Fidelity Bank 0.57%. The NGX all share index declined by 0.15%, but holding to the 71,000 level. Well, across frontier African markets, the Egyptian index closed in the red by 0.56%. The Kenyan main stock index dipped by 0.12%. Bearish also for the regional exchange in Abidjan. We saw 0.23% down. The Ghana stock market remained flattish. In Southern Africa, the Zimbabwe stock market slumped sharply by 1.03%. However, the JSE in South Africa posted a 0.54% gain. So we're back on Broad Street now. Overnight lending rate among commercial banks in Nigeria expanded by 168 basis points to 23.9%. That's despite the inflow from the FGN bonds coupon payment of 17.21 billion naira. Looking at fixed income now, the NTB secondary market, that's the Nigerian Treasury Bill secondary market, traded with bullish sentiments as the average yield contracted by 1 basis point to 12.7%. Well, the FGN bond secondary market was negative as the average yield expanded by 10 basis points to 15.9%. And let's check our local currency here in Nigeria. The Naira advanced by 5.6% to 750 Naira 14 kobo against the US dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange Market as monitored via FMDQ Securities Exchange. A quick look at oil prices. Oil futures eased on Tuesday, reversing the previous day's rally as concerns over weaker demand amid a slowing global economy outweighed the prospect of deepening supply cuts by OPEC and its allies such as Russia. Brent crude futures fell 0.2% to $82.13 a barrel, while the US West Texas Intermediate crude was at $77.68 a barrel, down 0.2%. Now, both contracts climbed about 2% on Monday after 3 OPEC Plus sources told Reuters that the producer group made up of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies is set to consider whether to make additional oil supply cuts when it meets on Sunday, November the 26th. Well, that's the package on Business Now this Tuesday, the 21st. Thank you for listening. I am Aramide Folorunsho. It's bye for now.
This is 95.3 Business Now.
News and information go around every second. The ones who deliver it and how matter. We give you depth, substance from the real sources.
I made statements in that regard, and the first point I called was the National Working Committee.
There wasn't any agreement between Bashir Machina and Ahmad Lawan.
DPO, the divisional police officer who is on ground there, went there.
Also giving you a more human angle on the events that matter.
They are not people that live in mansions, but they are people that live in these localities, and the people are afraid to
That's so many issues there in area boys. Then we now went to...
Let's cut the convention and rather have a conversation. Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. We go beyond the news.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a trader operating a chain of supermarkets. I engage in monthly comfortable contributions with my insurance company. It gave me the opportunity to inject capital into my business during peak periods and reap handsome returns.